Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Career Design Talks interview series, where I speak with successful professionals across industries to uncover their personal strategies and lessons learned on their way to building a successful and fulfilling career. Today, I'm speaking with Dan Anyaegbunam, who currently works in football operations at the NFL. He's got a unique career path that will resonate with many young lawyers and anyone wanting to work in the sports industry and figuring out how to get into the sports industry. So we're going to dive right into that story today. So listen up. Dan, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Appreciate you taking the time. So why don't we start with where you are today? So you work for the NFL now. Has working in the sports industry kind of always been the goal of yours?
Yeah, honestly, well, at first I wanted to make it to the NFL, but as a walk-on at Syracuse University and a former offensive lineman, the chances are very slim. So I had to set my sights on other ways to be involved in sports.
Got it. Got it. Okay, cool. So yeah, so take us back to you went to Syracuse, you played college football, already an impressive accomplishment. I'm sure a very unique experience. Tell us about your thought process when you're here. You're a college athlete. Your dream is to play pro ball. That didn't happen, and so take me through your thought process of like going from undergrad to making your next move.
Well, it was a cold December, and we're trying to make it to a bowl game.
Hmm.
I was going up against the likes of Cameron Lynch. He was a 4-year NFL player. Chandler Jones at the time, Justin Pugh, and I got beat like I stole something. So maybe this isn't the correct path for me. We all have our strengths. So I decided from there, like, let's see if I can try this law school thing. Saw all my friends were getting agents, and I saw that all my friends were getting agents, and they were trying to find out what were the best deals to get, whether it was sponsorship or somebody to help them negotiate their contracts. So I said, hey, that could possibly be a touch point for me.
Hmm.
So I started to explore law school. Found my way to New England Law School. I took the LSAT in December or January.
Hmm.
Applied, and New England gave me a shot. And I packed up all my stuff and moved to Boston to start in 2014.
Excellent. So yeah, it sounds like just your experience as a football player, you're kind of surrounded by people going to that next level of the NFL, and this idea of being someone's agent, representing someone, helping them navigate the world of the business of sports was really what prompted you to think about law school and head in that direction.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
My view was very narrow at the time.
Hmm.
I thought a lawyer who played sports before, the only thing they could do is be an agent.
Right.
Law school really opened my eyes to the different avenues that are available to attorneys, to anybody who has a law degree.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. Okay, talk to me about that. So here you are, you come into law school, assuming you can only be an agent or that's what you want to be. What opened up for you? What other things interested you?
Well, I did a whole bunch of competitions. I went down to Tulane and did their sports negotiation competition.
Hmm.
And I also went to Fordham, did their basketball negotiation competition. And honestly, I just started to network with people in the industry
Hmm.
and found out. And one of my mentors actually said to me, he said, go into a stadium and look everywhere. Look at the signage. There were lawyers on both sides, who negotiated that contract for that signage to be inside of there. So
Sure.
lawyers are needed everywhere.
Right.
And you should expand your view to something much larger than just being an agent.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So that's great. So it's always nice to have a mentor who can point out things that you're not even aware of.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So now did that open up sort of the idea of just like the business world in general, right? Like the business of sports. There's so many other things that lawyers are needed for besides just being someone's agent.
Yeah, I started to take some notes and really figured out people's paths of how they got to where they got to.
Hmm.
Started to look at general counsels for every single sports league, not just the NFL. Started to look at football operations, team vice presidents, and I found out that probably a third of them have law degrees
Hmm.
or some sort of secondary degree.
Yep.
And I crafted my career after the people who I saw in those positions that I wanted in the future.
Excellent, excellent. So that's I think that's a really important advice here, and to share with our audience is this idea of you were looking further ahead. You were looking at people you admired, studying their career paths. How do they get to where they are? A lot of those business executives in the sports industry had law degrees. Um, and what did that sort of like reinforce sort of, okay, I'm on the right path for you? Did that make this seem like more possible? How did that information help you make decisions about your career path?
It it showed me that I had my work cut out for me. They went through an arduous journey,
Hmm.
lots of ups and downs. As you see it on LinkedIn, it seems you see oh they went to this undergrad, then they went to law school, then from there they went to the NFL or NBA. But you don't
Yeah,
see the ups and the downs, the tears. You don't see any of that. So
sure.
I would reach out to them and I would really ask them, okay, I understand what we saw on LinkedIn. I want to know what it's really like. And
Yeah.
give you the real, then
Hmm.
you start to really understand and the things that you need to equip yourself with to make it to that level, to that entry level job of getting into the NFL or into any sports league.
Right, right. Okay, so that's great. So it's not only that you were just kind of like admiring these people from the outside, looking at their online profiles. You actually sounds like you actually had some conversations and met some people and did some networking.
Yes, it was I. Well, when I after I graduated from law school,
Hmm.
I was working at the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office. So about every
Okay.
week, I was taking people out for drinks and just really trying to understand their career paths and trying to make a connection with them so they would understand where I'm coming from and they
Hmm.
would treat me like a mentee, because
Okay.
they were people who I wanted to be like in the future.
Right, right. So I know a lot of people watching this are probably asking, well, how did he do that? How do you get to go to drinks with someone who works in the sports industry? So can you shed a little light on that process?
Well, so after I graduated from law school, I, I, a thing that I learned from talking to people in the sports industry is that the sports
Hmm.
industry is very small and
Hmm.
everybody knows everybody. So I figured that you have to get into the club somehow.
Yep.
So I figured New York City is the best
Hmm.
place to go because it has all the sports leagues headquarters there and everybody has to come to New York City for something.
Sure.
So that would give me an opportunity to network with people and say, hey, if you're here in 6 months, just let me know, reach out. And also, they have a lot of events here all the time in the sport for the sports industry. So
Yep.
I would constantly go to networking events, and it was honestly a grind. Uh,
Yeah.
so I applied I doubled down on that by applying to Columbia after taking the bar, because I
Yeah.
didn't get enough punishment from law school.
Right, right.
Um, so I went to Columbia and I saw that they had a star-studded cast of people who work in the sports industry, and I said, okay, my network can start there. It'll be a really good base. So I'm
Right.
going to reach out to all my professors, the career services, and really work with them to really craft my career to see how I can get to the NFL or any other sports league. It was difficult because if we rewind, during law school, I was balancing working as chasing my sports dream, but
Hmm.
also I knew that there was a very real possibility that I might not make it. So I had to have my focus on other areas of law to really broaden out my knowledge base. So
Hmm.
I did a lot of criminal law internships. I worked for a judge. I worked for Committee for Public Services in Boston. I worked
Hmm.
for the Brooklyn DA's office, all while working as the director of client services at Athlete Capital Agency.
Okay.
Uh,
So that
so
was during law school. You're taking internships. Sound
Yep.
like you were doing a few different things. And was the sports agency, was that in Boston as well?
He was actually in Miami, Florida,
Okay.
but a lot of the stuff that I could do was remote, and it was building materials, everything that they need, really helping these athletes out and saying, hey, you guys are going to transition eventually. This is how I did it. So
Got it.
it was a good opportunity to learn how athlete on the professional level
Hmm.
think.
Got it. Got it. And was that something where how did you get that internship or that opportunity to work in that sports agency?
It was actually through one of my teammates, Cameron Lynch. It was
Oh,
his
nice.
agent, and I was saying, "Hey, this is my dreams. This is what I want to do." He said, "Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
put you in contact." And
Great.
he's he's like, "Yeah, of course, I'll use some help."
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Awesome, awesome. So it's great. It's great to lean on your network in that way, right? It's good to
yeah,
it's good to know people in high places.
Yeah.
All right. So you're in New York. You're doing a lot of networking. You mentioned you go to Columbia. Say a little bit more about what was it specifically you were doing at Columbia?
So at Columbia, well, during the day, I was a prosecutor at the Brooklyn DA's office
Right. Yeah. Okay. So you're working full time.
full time. Every
Yep.
movie that you ever seen about a prosecutor and how much they work is 100% true.
Yeah.
Um, we were working a lot of hours, but it was really rewarding work helping the people of Brooklyn,
hmm
and really helping the communities down there. And at night, I was sprinting from court to get on the train for about an hour to go all
Yeah.
the way up to Harlem to take classes at Columbia to further my dream in the future.
Right.
Uh,
Right. And that was part of their sports management program.
Sports management program,
Got
yeah,
it. Okay.
correct.
And did you learn about through that? Did you learn about that course or that program through your networking? Was that something that came up in conversation?
It was actually my older sister. She went to Columbia for narrative medicine after she graduated
hmm
from undergrad, and she said, "Yeah, Columbia's starting this program. You should check it out." And that was like 5 6 years before.
Got it.
And then just randomly, I thought of it, and I took a shot and I applied for it.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. So okay. So now you're working full time at the DA's office. You're in the Columbia Sports Management program at night. Tell me what that experience was like, and where do you take that experience?
Didn't sleep for about 2 years,
Okay.
but everybody wants to work in sports. I know a lot of people want to work in sports, so you
Sure.
want it more than somebody else. So what are you willing to do? I think
Right.
that the quote is if you want to be in the 1%, you have to do what the 1% is willing to do.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
that
Absolutely.
only the 1% is willing to do.
Yeah.
So, I sacrificed a lot, and I went up to Columbia. I was taking the classes. I thought that I was done with finals and midterms, and papers, but I
Right.
wasn't. It was funny.
Back to
Some
school.
weeks I would jump from writing a court brief to writing a paper,
Yeah.
and bouncing back and forth. So it was quite the experience. But it's a very immersive program that
hmm
really teach you the ins and outs of the sports industry,
Okay.
from marketing to sponsorship to legal to contract drafting. It was anything that you think of in the sports industry. Somebody on the faculty has done it, and they've done
Right.
it on an intimate level.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're learning like all facets of the sports business.
Yes, yes.
Nice. Nice.
I'm also I knew exactly why I was there. I was there to get the masters and also to network. So I was making friends with the professors. I was taking them out for lunch, and I was messaging them, and really diving deep and really investing into my own education.
Nice. Nice. So with the professors, were these more academic professors, or were these mostly professionals in the sports industry who also taught?
All professionals in the sports industry.
Okay. Yeah. So they were really immersed in the sports industry.
Yes, I had one professor, Pam Wheeler. She was in my leadership class,
hmm
and she's no nonsense, but she cares.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of conversations with her
hmm
about what my goals were,
hmm
and it was funny that she actually helped me get to my next job. I remember I had a trial, and trials are very stressful in themselves, and it was kind of my first one. I was still in my first probably like 8 months of being a prosecutor.
Yeah.
Um, but I realized I had class that night,
Mhm.
so I I was preparing for the trial, and then I have to leave at 6:05 unless I'll miss like the 6:08 train. So I had
Right.
to
Right.
leave at 6:05. Uh,
Yeah.
and all the stars aligned where I came from court, finished what work I had to do. Well, didn't really finish it, but did as much as I could do.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
out on the train, I have my laptop out on the train. I'm doing my work, and I'm going up to class, and rush hour in New York City, so you're bumping into people. You're just doing the best you can. So I get into class, and I see my future boss. Spoiler alert. Uh, Troy Vincent sitting there, and I was taken aback. I was like, "Oh, I must be hallucinating. I got to," because
So you already knew who he was when you
yeah,
walked
I
in
already
class.
knew who he
Okay.
was. Yeah, because A, I watched him play, and B, I did my research on all the sports leagues, so he was one of the people that was on my list.
Okay. Great.
So I was super excited, and I think I was in the first two rows. It's just something from football that they told you to do. Just sit in the first two rows, and
Right.
it'll work out for you. So I was sitting in the first two rows, and I was taking in every word, hanging off of his every word, because it's somebody who you've always wanted to hear speak.
Mhm.
So
And for those of us who don't know who Troy Vincent is, give us a little background.
yeah, he's the executive vice president of football operations and football operations at the NFL.
Nice. Okay. Perfect.
So he sat in the front of he sat in the front of the classroom, and he said, "Hey, let's just have a talk. Let's just talk."
Yeah.
So it was really like a campfire talk that he had with us, and it was just so genuine and authentic, and I absolutely loved it. So after class, I walked up to him and said, "Hey, I really loved your speech. Would love to catch up with you sometime. I know you're incredibly busy." He's like, "Here's your card. Here's my card. Contact me." So I was like, "Okay, I've done this song and dance about 1,000,000 times."
Yeah.
So but I always make sure I'm definitely going to follow up so I can at least say that I did what I said I was going to do.
Sure.
So I followed up with him, and he responded back. And I was like, "Am I dreaming? Is this just lack of sleep?" So he said, "Hey, how about you come into the office?" So I took a vacation day, came into the office, and I shadowed him for the day.
Okay.
And he introduced me to everybody in the office, and as I was looking, because the NFL league office, as it should be, is an NFL, a fan of the NFL's dream. You see all the trophies, all the rings, you see all the posters, and I'm like, these are the people who are behind all the decisions. These are the people who work hard every single day to make sure that we have the best on-field product.
Yeah.
And I just thought to myself, like, yeah, they let a fox in the hen house, because I'm never leaving.
Nice.
So while I was there,
yeah,
collecting cards, like Pokemon cards, I was just collecting them.
Good. Yeah.
I got probably about 10, 15 cards from everybody that I met that day.
Just that day, one day.
Just that day.
It worked. All right.
Yeah, because I came in with a mission. I knew you just have to execute.
Yeah.
You don't get very many opportunities like that.
Sure.
I have limited vacation days, and I also so they're expecting to go on vacation and do other things. So so as I got the cards, after the next day, I emailed everybody on the list. Of the 10, 15 people, 5 emailed me back. One, we became actually like close friends, and it's just about the numbers. You reach out to 10 people, one will actually respond, and it'll turn into something.
Right.
And after that, we just stayed in contact for a year. A job opened up, and I would, during the course of the year, I would, send her interesting articles of things that we spoke about, and we just we really cultivated a relationship.
Yeah.
And I would send her articles, and say happy birthday or Merry Christmas, just staying in the seat warm.
Yeah.
And also,
I know that's a big, that's a question I always get asked is, sure, networking is important, but you talk to these people once, how do you stay in touch? How do you continue to build on that first conversation? So it sounds like you were really diligent about paying attention to people's birthdays, holidays, and sending relevant articles.
Yeah.
And that worked really well for you.
And balancing, it was a real balancing act of not being annoying and keeping the seat warm. It's a very fine line, and you really have to understand the industry that you're trying to go in. So football, I knew from August to February, the responses back aren't going to be the best.
Yeah.
Because, you're so busy. You just have to understand the industry that you're going in.
Right.
So Leah messaged. I saw a job on the NFL website, the former position that I had, because I recently got moved to officiating. But I saw the job online, and I messaged her. I said, "Hey, this is something that I'm interested in." So she said, "Yeah, I think you'd be really good for that job." And then a week later, I got a call back. Then 2 weeks later, I had my final interview.
Yeah.
And a month later, I was at the NFL. I'm like, "Whoa, this happened way too fast." This happened way too fast.
Awesome. Yeah.
I was waiting for them to say, the imposter syndrome. I was waiting for them to say, like, go back to the one before. So yeah, it was.
Well, that part happened fast, but it sounds like it was about 2 years in the making.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Opportunities do not miss when
Yeah. I'm curious with your experience being an attorney, working in the prosecutor's office. Obviously, you went to grad school, you got a relevant degree in sports management. Was it easy for you to, because I know your first job was in football operations, right?
Mhm. Yes.
Uh, and was there a challenge there? And I know a lot of people might be wondering, well, I've never worked in the sports industry. I've never worked in football operations. I've only done this type of law.
Mhm.
So, I don't have the skills or the experience to do this other job. How did you overcome that? Was it the secret of, networking, obviously having the sports management degree? Was it even an issue that you didn't have like direct experience, or was there a lot of transferable experience with being an attorney and a prosecutor?
Well, I'll let you in on a secret. We're at the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
We're not doing anything that's different than what anybody else is doing. Finance numbers are numbers.
Right, right.
You're still analyzing the same exact way that they trained you in law school and at
Sure.
the DA's office.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that at the end of the transaction, we're dealing with Peyton Manning or Tom Brady. Like
Right.
that's what it is.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of relevant skills.
Got it.
And at these, for a lot of these young attorneys or young professionals, they're working on their organization skills. They're working on their legal analysis skills.
Yep.
Those are all skills that are very transferable to any industry.
Yep.
I knew that I had the skills. I just needed the network, so I built that up.
Yeah.
Kind of took
Excellent.
it in 2 buckets. Yeah.
Yeah, no, excellent. That's great. So it's good to hear that story of the skills can work in whatever industry, and the real sort of the extra point is you've got to build a network. You've got to get those relationships in place for anything to really happen.
Yeah, and the Columbia piece was just to help that networking. Just so I didn't start out at 0. I
Right.
Started off at 10.
Right. Yeah. Awesome. So tell us a little bit about what's it like to work in the NFL. What's a day in the life for you now?
Ooh, wow. It's a lot. It's a lot of work. My colleagues and I, we work very hard every day. A day in the life, it honestly changes. Some days I'll come in and there'll be a Pop Warner football case that I would have to analyze and give a brief on. Then other days we're making contracts on how to further our flag football initiatives. Then other days, it's all rules, and then it's all rule analysis. So it's honestly it's a mixed bag. It keeps me on my toes.
Yeah.
It's honestly I get to touch a lot of points of the game. Because I've worked in officiating, I've done youth football, I've done football operations. Everything is under the football operations umbrella.
Yeah.
So honestly, it's every day is different. And right now, COVID is the hot topic, and really trying to keep all of our officials, all the players, and everybody, and all of the game day assistants safe. So coming up with protocols, really working with our health and safety team, really letting the medical science drive everything on all.
Yeah. I mean, you're certainly there at an interesting time with what's going on in the world. Let's see. I've got a few more questions here before we wrap up. Is here you are. You're kind of on the other side of this journey, right? From college football player to now working in the NFL. What are some of your favorite sort of what do you think is some of the most important lessons learned for you along this way? Like, what are some maybe success principles you could share with us?
Yeah. So there's 2 that I live by, and I'm just, as I talk to more people, I add things on as I like things. I'll just
Sure.
It was a senior attorney who actually told me this in law school. He said, yeah, never take your foot off the gas. Just keep going. And and many people say it in different ways. The football term is like, if you stop your feet, you'll get tackled. So just keep going, don't stop. And the second one is never get got twice. You can only make a mistake once.
You don't want to build a reputation making too many mistakes.
Exactly. Your reputation is super crucial to your success.
Awesome. And with you sort of looking forward into the future, how how do you see yourself as, as a professional, obviously looking to never stop, looking to grow, keep hustling, keep moving forward? How are you thinking about, your sort of future as a professional? How are you investing in do you continue to invest in your learning and growth and networking? How does that work when you're now a full-time working professional?
It's honestly, it's the continuing legal education. You just try to find out different parts of the industry and you study them. I really try and take them like classes. So I'll find an issue and I'll just research it in my off time, because I never want to stop growing, and I want to be able to have answers, because the more you know, it's just the better off you are. So I really set my Twitter to all the leading sports attorneys in the industry, so I know so I have my finger on the pulse of what's going on. I don't just focus on the NFL. I focus on every sport, because we're all going to deal with similar issues. People at the NBA were watching how the MLB and the NFL got through this season, because they're about to go through it, and we're definitely exchanging notes. So I constantly learn, and I never try and stay in the same spot for too long. I really try and turn into a different person in 3 years with a whole bunch of experience, and I constantly sit back. I actually have a whiteboard where I write down everything I learn, and I analyze them, so they don't just pass by me. I can articulate them, so when my little brother or my little sister are coming up, I can say, okay, this is exactly what happened, and this is how I touched the stove, and you don't have to do that here. I impart that knowledge on students and anybody else who ever wants to network. I didn't get here by myself. A lot of people helped me out, so I make sure to give back and send that elevator back down.
Excellent. Yeah. So listen, it sounds like some of your sort of secrets to success is really more about continuing to learn, continuing to grow, and I love what you shared there about you're not just focused on what's going on in the NFL. You're really looking broadly, connecting with professionals in other leagues. That's excellent, man. That's exactly the type of coaching that I would give to clients, right? It's like, this is what it takes. It's like, you can't just do your job. You've got to be good at all these other things as well.
Exactly.
So, I just want to say thank you so much for your time today. I know you do this, for students and people like that. So yeah, you're really generous with your information and your experiences. So I really appreciate you taking the time today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. This was a great opportunity.
Absolutely. All right. Well, with that, we'll say goodbye. Until next time. Take care.
All right. Thank you.